Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, home of the Air Force Materiel Command and the largest military aviation museum in the world, the National Museum of the United States Air Force. Today we will observe two changes of command. The first ceremony will recognize the Air Force Research Laboratory as the command is passed from Lieutenant General Robert D. McMurray to Brigadier General William T. Cooley, followed by a second change of command in which the Air Force Life Cycle Management Center is passed from Lieutenant General J.T. Thompson to Lieutenant General McMurray. Our presiding officer for this exceptional event is General Ellen M. Palakowski, Commander, Air Force Materiel Command. I'm Colonel Rick Rico Johns, and it is my pleasure to serve as your narrator for today. The change of command ceremony is deeply rooted in military tradition and dates back to the reign of King Frederick of Prussia. During this time, organizational flags were developed with color arrangements and symbols unique to each unit. When a change of command was to take place, the outgoing commander would pass the flag to the individual assuming command. This gesture was accomplished in front of the unit so all could see and witness their new leader assuming command. This symbolic tradition has served throughout military history and will be part of our ceremony today. I would like to begin with a brief review of the ceremony. In just a few moments, the official party will arrive, and I'll ask you to stand as the band plays Ruffles and Flourishes and the General's March. The colors will then be posted, followed by the playing of the national anthem. As a reminder, military in uniform remain at attention during the playing of musical honors and the national anthem. For all others, it is appropriate to place your right hand over your heart during the playing of our national anthem. I'll provide you other clues throughout the event. There are a number of special and distinguished guests joining us today whom I'd like to recognize. Please hold your applause until everyone has been introduced. And to our guests, would you please stand or give the audience a wave of acknowledgement as I say your name. I'll begin with a very warm welcome for General Thompson's spouse, Ruth Ann, and his mother, Mrs. Janet Thompson. Next, I'd like to introduce General McMurray's family, his spouse, Major D. McMurray, Air Force retired, their son, Jake, and daughters, Maddie and Kellen, his sisters, Teresa O'Grady and Karen McMurray, and Major McMurray's sisters, Becky Ramlow, Linda Mekris, Rita Buller, and Paula Breen, their nieces Leah and Caroline O'Grady. Next, I'd like to recognize General Cooley's family, his spouse Janet, and his brother, Dr. Thomas Cooley. A sincere welcome to the family members. We'd also like to say welcome and thank you to the many guests in the audience representing federal, state, and regional government, business and education leaders, mayors and community leaders, Air Force senior leaders, both military and retired, civilian. We thank you all for joining us today. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in a round of applause for all of our honored guests. Please stand for the arrival of the official party and remain standing for the posting of the colors and the playing of our national anthem by the Air Force Band of Flight, Wright Brass. Arm. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the invocation by Chaplain Sean Nalen, the Air Force Materiel Command Chaplain.
Let us pray. Eternal God, creator of the universe, we are indeed thankful for your compassion and love shown towards us. As we assemble in these hallowed halls, we ask your blessings during this time of transition, even as we celebrate the successes of these leaders and anticipate greater achievements. We are grateful that you, O Lord, continue to raise up leaders among us for such a time as this. For our departing commander, Lieutenant General J.T. Thompson, we ask for your bountiful blessings upon him and his wife, Ruth Ann, as they transition to the Space and Missile Systems Center. Lieutenant General Thompson has touched our lives, and we are a grateful command and a better Air Force due to his incredible leadership. For our transitioning commander, Lieutenant General Robert McMurray, we ask for your grace upon him, his wife Dee, and their family as they assume command and lead the Life Cycle Management Center to build upon the legacy that is before them. Grant him wisdom, courage, and strength in fulfilling this vital mission. For our incoming commander, Brigadier General William Cooley, his wife Janet, and his family, we ask that you give them a fresh vision, provide them fortitude as they lead the research laboratory to accomplish even more in support of the warfighter. As the guidons of command passes between these great leaders, let your strengthening arm attend to them all. May the flag forever remind them of the mantle of service, leadership, and defense of our nation. Grant them great success in each of their endeavors. Empower America, Lord, to continue to promote freedom in the world. Protect and prosper the people of this great land, the men and women of our great military, and our civic and military leaders. Thank you for all in attendance today. Lord, we ask that you hear our prayers, and may they be your will. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Thank you, Chaplain Nalen, Wright-Patterson Honor Guard, and the Air Force Band of Flight Wright Brass. Today you will witness a celebration both of continuity and change. Continuity in the form of a military tradition whose American roots reach back through time when the Continental Army of the United States conducted the first official ceremony in America with the passing of organizational flags. Continuity and change, as one commander says farewell, and we usher in the beginning of a new era. preserving tradition and promoting esprit de corps. The ceremony you're about to witness is one of the briefest, yet most significant of our military ceremonies. All authority and responsibility are vested in the hands of the commander, a chain unbroken to the commander-in-chief. The passing of the flag culminates a series of significant achievements under these generals' leadership, foresight, and guidance, and reflects great confidence in the leaders who will assume these commands. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure to introduce our presiding official today, the Commander of Air Force Materiel Command, General Ellen M. Pawlikowski.
Well, good morning, everyone. This truly is a historic day. I don't know that I have ever personally witnessed where we do two changes of command in the same ceremony. I think we look back through the history and could not find an occasion where at least Air Force Materiel Command and its predecessors, Systems Command and Logistics Command, ever did this. There's another thing that's probably a little unique about today's ceremony compared to many changes of command that you do, particularly when you have officers of this rank. I did a little math in my head, and you have on this stage over 120 years of active duty. And none of us are done yet. And what I think makes this day so special to me is how our Air Force grows our officers, grows our leaders, and then continues to give us the opportunities to serve this great country and to continue to serve with our airmen. So as we go through this ceremony, it is a pretty important ceremony because it represents how we transition the leadership from one to another. And, you know, for General McMurray, he just has a brief, maybe 10 seconds between when he is not a commander till he becomes a commander again. General Thompson's a little longer, what, about a month? No, less than that. 2 weeks before he has those G-series orders again. And, you know, command is a very, very significant responsibility. You know, when you first get that set of orders, right, Coop, it's like, wow, what does this mean? But when you realize that when you're on G-series orders, which is what a commander gets, that you have the responsibility not just for the execution of that mission, but for the care of each and every airman that's in that command. And that is a very heavy responsibility. And the officers that you see here are ready and willing and prepared to take on or to continue that responsibility. And that has a lot to be said for each and every one of them. Now, I guess we're going to start with the Air Force Research Lab, and I kind of look at this spot in the museum, and for me, this spot represents changes of command for the Air Force Research Lab, because this is the exact same spot that I stood in, remember, Joe, when I took command from Kurt Bedke, and Kurt pointed to that airplane and said, I flew that airplane, not the B-52, but that specific tail number. And so I kind of look at that airplane as the Air Force Research Lab airplane. Because it's been here for every change of command, I think, Jack, at least from before mine, right? We have done this here. And I was thinking, it doesn't seem like it was that long ago that we did this change of command. And come to think of it, Robert, it wasn't that long ago. It was like less than a year ago. In fact, you're having a hard time holding on to a job. I thought I was quick. I had 14 months as the Air Force Research Lab commander. I think Robert's less than a year, just a little less than a year. But what a year. What a time to have been the lab commander and the leadership that he's shown in this laboratory. You know, we talk about the laboratory in terms of the three things they do. They bring us revolutionary ideas and concepts and technologies, and during the time that Robert was the research lab commander, we actually made tremendous steps in photon capture, oh, I'm sorry, trapped ions. I knew I'd get it right. Trapped ions, see, that's why he was the commander, because he knows all these things. And trapped ions, which is critical to our quantum computing capability, not just for the Air Force, but really for the nation. And that's an area that is going to be in the future, going to be very, very important as we look at our ability to provide cybersecurity as well as computational capability in the size and in the frame that we need it. They have in that same time, the Air Force Research Lab provided very relevant technologies. Rachel Steele. Rachel Steele was an innovative idea by the research members down at Eglin Air Force Base, particularly Rachel. And this steel has changed the way we will build weapons for decades to come. It eliminated our reliance on foreign partners for the metals in our weapons and reduced the cost by significantly in the cost of all of our systems. During this time, the Air Force used MOAB. Our country used MOAB. That was dreamed of and designed and tested and matured in the Air Force Research Lab. And then, of course, every day, the team, there's technologies that the Air Force Research Lab brings to the fight through its responsive tasking, like the long endurance aerial platform LEAP, which is today providing valuable reconnaissance capabilities in the theater, or the response that the lab has stood up in providing counter small UAVs just in the last few months. The list of things that the lab accomplished in this last year, I could go on. And Robert's leadership was a key part of that, and a key reason why when we look to, unfortunately, we have to lose General Thompson, and we needed a new leader for the Life Cycle Management Center, and that's why Robert was the one we chose, because of his leadership skills, his vast experience in not just the technology area, but also in acquisition. He's been a program director for the Airborne Laser Program, survived 2 tours in the SBIRS program, air staff assignments, foreign military sales, a year in Iraq, involved in foreign military sales. He's got the skill set to be able to lead the Air Force Life Cycle Management Center. But even though he's only been there for a short while, it's going to be hard to fill his shoes, Bill. But you know what? We've been preparing Bill Cooley for this moment for his entire career, haven't we? Bill started his career in the Air Force Research Lab right here. Came out of RPI, Rensselaer Polytech, ROTC grad, with his bachelor's and his master's degree. And after a short tour where he rocked it here, we sent him back to get his PhD right here at AFIT, right? And then we sent him down to Kirtland, where he got a chance to be close to family, right, Tom? And at Albuquerque, and worked in lasers. Then we sent him off to get a little other experience besides the research lab, because, you know, the key to the research lab is transitioning technologies. And having an understanding of the operations side of things is really important. So Bill got some experience in Europe, and then we got him experience as a program director and a group commander, and then we sent him back to the lab, where he was the director of the Space Vehicles Directorate during the time that I was the lab commander. And then we finally, the last 5 years, roughly, 4 or 5 years, we've had him immersed in the acquisition side of things and understanding the key aspects of how we get those technologies and transition them through our program offices. So I think you're well qualified, Bill, but don't screw it up. All right. So, but as I said, we have to free up General McMurray from those G-Series orders from the Air Force Research Lab, because sadly we need to wish farewell to General J.T. Thompson, currently, for at least a couple more minutes, the commander of the Air Force Life Cycle Management Center. In fact, the second commander of the Air Force Life Cycle Management Center. And you know, being the second in an organization is always hard, because in the beginning, you know, when you're the first commander, there's lots of excitement and all these promises about how this new organization is going to deliver all these things. And then you're the second guy, and now it's just like, okay, where is it? You know, you guys said you were going to be able to save this money, or you were going to be able to deliver these things. But under General Thompson's leadership and the team that had been built before that, it is truly remarkable what the Lifecycle Management Center has accomplished in the last 2.5 years, a little over, almost 3 years, right? In the last 3 years. You know, set that foundation that truly has made it the premier lifecycle management organization in this country. And look at the things that this center has delivered in the last 3 years. We have the KC-46 Milestone C. That is the future of our global reach capability and our tanker capability. We have the release, we have the award of the B-21 program, the future of our bombers. We have the IOC of the F-35, the future of our fighter and our air superiority. We had the release of the the request for proposal for our next generation trainer, which will be the trainer for our future for decades to come. We had the release of the Joint Stars recap, which is the future of our battle management capability, airborne battle management capability for decades to come. But in all of that process, General Thompson provided the leadership, the structure that enabled the program executive officers like Kevin Buckley and Duke Richardson sitting here to be able to do what they needed to get done. But he didn't just stop there. He paved the way in many new areas. He was the lead for establishing the F-35 product support integrator function. It was his guidance that enabled us to get that through the joint and the international community that allows the Air Force to hold the destiny of the F-35. He also provided guidance and leadership for the delivery of the Saudi Arabian F-15, a very, very challenging program with a platform that was far more than just buying a copy of something. 100,000 plus foreign military sales acquisitions during the time that General Thompson was here. He stood up the cyber campaign plan and the office. Cyber security is critically important to all of our weapon systems, and it was under his leadership that we were able to do that. And then the thing that, in my mind, was the most significant and most important legacy that General Thompson left was his work in the strategic resourcing of our workforce. He was one of the leaders that I counted on as we transitioned to acquisition demo for our civilian workforce. The strategic resourcing model for our program offices is the very first time in the history of my experience in our business that we now have a repeatable, quantitative way of determining the human resources we need to execute a program, and then a way to assess the risk associated with not getting those resources. This is a capability that this center will be able to use for decades to come. So in little less than 3 years, General Thompson, if you think about it, has had a part in setting the framework for the future of our Air Force, and particularly how we manage our acquisition programs, our life cycle programs, for many, many years and decades to come. So JT, we're going to miss you. But you're not going that far. And he's off to the Space and Missile Systems Center. And the relationship between the Space and Missile Systems Center has been stronger and getting stronger all the time. We have this kind of steady flow between the two commands now over the last couple of years. And so I'm looking forward to continue to serve with you, JT, and I wish you and Ruth Ann the best of luck One Officers Road is a great house to live in. It's got its little quirks, but you'll get used to it. And Robert, same thing as I told Bill. Don't screw it up. Right? So I think with that, it's time for us to start this ceremony. Or I guess we got to give General Thompson a chance to talk, right?
Thank you, General Polakowski.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Lieutenant General J.T. Thompson, Commander of the Air Force Life Cycle Management System.
Well, good morning, Miami Valley and Air Force Materiel Command. How's everybody doing today? Good. All right. Okay, so there's 4 different speeches that you have to hear in this mega change of command ceremony, and I know my place. I'm the outgoing commander, so by far mine is the least important speech, so I will be brief. For more than 2.5 years, it has been my great honor and privilege to lead DoD's premier acquisition and product support organization, the Air Force Life Cycle Management Center. 26,000 people, over 60 different operating locations around the world, providing American and allied airmen the material that they need. They need it for combat, they need it for humanitarian operations, they need it for training, they need it for all sorts of contingencies in garrison and while deployed. We're talking aircraft, engines, radars, business enterprise systems, software, you name it, we provide it. And nobody does it better. If you think about it, and I use this with my staff very frequently, if you think about any Air Force recruiting video or print ad you've ever seen, there's 2 major components to that recruiting tool. One is it contains fantastic airmen doing an incredible job. And 2 is they're using some equipment provided by the Air Force Life Cycle Management Center. So the next time you're watching a football game or a baseball game and you see an Air Force recruiting video, instead of paying attention to the words, instead of paying attention to those fantastic airmen, I mean, think about it, you're already here, so we don't need to recruit you. Pay attention to the equipment. And I guarantee you there's over a 95% probability that the equipment that they have in those advertisements is provided by some component of the Life Cycle Management Center. Our job has been and will continue to be effective weapon systems delivered efficiently in a challenging fiscal environment or not. We are the greatest Air Force on the planet, or the GOAT, the greatest of all time maybe, in terms of air forces. All right, and it is that way because of a lot of people that I'd like to thank now. It's been my privilege, and I've been lucky to be part of this, but I played just such a minor role to the large enterprise that delivers all of that materiel to airmen around the world in every time zone. First, General Polakowski, ma'am, I'd like to thank you for your leadership and the opportunities that you've presented me over these last couple years. I cannot tell you, everybody in the audience probably knows General Polakowski has a doctorate. Well, she went into the United States military, but she very easily could have gone into academia, because working with General Polakowski in a very, very positive way is like going to school every single day. There is a lesson to be learned. So every day's a school day working for you, ma'am, and I very, very much appreciated all the help, advice, counseling, mentorship, and coaching that you've provided me over these last couple years. Robert, I know that you've been a great partner in Air Force Research Lab, and thanks for that. Our careers go way back. We were junior officers together in the Pentagon. I got to witness, when you were a captain, how great you are, how amazing a leader you are, how efficient you are at getting the job done. I think most of the people in SAF AQ at the time thought that you and I were both there on golf scholarships, but I can guarantee you that at least one of us, him more likely, was a pretty productive action officer in the Pentagon. I know, Robert, that you and Dee will take the Life Cycle Management Center to all new levels of performance. Bill, we've known each other a lot of time, and I want to thank you for your friendship, but I know nothing about Air Force Research Lab, so you're on your own. To the Dayton region, the Miami Valley, all of the communities out there that are represented by leadership out here, thank you. It is not surprising to me in the least that Wright-Patterson Air Force Base continues to win national awards for how great they support the military folks that are here in this region. It's absolutely no surprise to me because Ruth Ann and I have been assigned here 4 separate times, and we've got to experience it in person, how great the leadership team here is in the region and what kind of great support they provide to our airmen here at the base. To our industry partners and all of our other stakeholders, Air Force, Joint Services, international partners that are in the audience, thanks for what you do every day. You're absolutely incredible in terms of delivering the capabilities that we need to help us deliver the capabilities that our warfighters need. I guess maybe I should just have a real quick shout out just as an example of one of the many stakeholders that are in the audience today, but my good friend Coop Cooper is here, the Air Force A4. Coop and I went to Air Command and Staff College together, and maybe afterwards you can ask either one of us about a speech he gave one time where I gave him bad gouge. So while I've been standing up here talking on the stage, Coop has been out there going, stretch it out, stretch it out. I know, I'm not trusting you because I gave you bad gouge one time. And anyway, the maintenance and logistics communities, our sustainment brethren that we work with every day, are absolutely essential to providing the warfighter support that we provide our users every day. For my family, Ruth Ann, Mom, I love you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for all the great support. And Ruth Ann particularly, thanks for at least demonstrating day in and day out that, yes, somebody nice can work with this guy. All right? I mean, we all know, everybody in this audience know who's the talent in the family. So thanks for pushing me out there and helping me every day. I love you. Finally, I'd just like to talk to the people of the Life Cycle Management Center. And so if you're a Life Cycle Management Center employee, no matter where you are in the world, it doesn't make any difference whether you're supporting one of those big programs like KC-46 or F-35, B-21, F-15, B-1, you name it. It doesn't make any difference if you're supporting one of those big programs and you're executing those programs, or whether you're responsible for some very, very important process that our Air Force counts on every day. Processes like airworthiness and safety certification of the equipment that we operate for our airmen. Or processes like should cost savings, where we have returned billions of dollars back to the corporate Air Force based on saving money while we execute those programs. Or maybe you're just, and I'll put that in quotation marks, support. Maybe you're one of the rock star personnel folks or one of the rock star protocol folks that helped make this very ceremony happen. Maybe you're a defender, and I think I saw a defender. There's a young man right over there. Wave to the audience, young man. I have said for a number of years that perhaps the most important person in the acquisition workforce every day is that two-striper at the gate that you show your ID to. Because that two-striper at the gate is protecting all of us while we do our very important job for the United States of America. So, lots of friends in the audience, lots of people I've worked with, a lot of people that I haven't worked with. So I've known some people in this business for decades, some people I just met in this job. We have 26,000 people in the center, some people I never got to meet. But all of them work together as a team. And I'm confident under General McMurray's leadership, you all will always be there for our Air Force like you always have been. This year celebrates the 100th anniversary of McCook Field here in the Miami Valley, which is the legacy organization that Air Force Research Lab, the Air Force Life Cycle Management Center, and even the National Air and Space Intelligence Center can trace our roots back to. So this region has the DNA that is required to continue the fantastic support that we've given our warfighters in terms of the equipment that they use and the processes that they enable every single day. Thanks to all of you, and have a great Air Force Day. We'll see you around our Air Force.
Thank you, General Thompson. For the first time in the history of Air Force Materiel Command, 2 centers changed leaders in one ceremony. Since no unit may be without its commander for any period of time, no matter how brief, Lieutenant General McMurray will have the unique opportunity to leave one center, followed by his taking command of another. We begin with the Air Force Research Laboratory. The Air Force Research Laboratory has a rich heritage with its predecessor units dating to 1917, when the Airplane Engineering Department was organized by the Army Signal Corps. Today, AFRL discovers enabling technologies which offer revolutionary improvements in performance, affordability, and supportability of Air Force weapon systems. The Air Force Research Laboratory is comprised of headquarters staff, 9 technology directorates, and 1 wing. Together, the laboratory leads the discovery, development, and integration of affordable warfighting technologies for our air and space force, and develops and transitions new technologies into operational weapon systems to enhance combat capabilities with over 10,000 military, civilian, and contracted employees, providing increased combat effectiveness for the United States Air Force. General Pawlikowski, General McMurray, and General Cooley, would you please come to center stage for the Air Force Research Laboratory change of command. The passing of the colors symbolizes the passing of command and is done in a ceremony so all may witness the changing of leadership responsibilities. Lieutenant General McMurray will now relinquish command of the Air Force Research Laboratory. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the publishing of the order.
Publish the order.
Attention to orders. Under the provisions of the Air Force Instruction 51604, Special Order Number 731-982, effective 2 May 2017, Brigadier General William T. Cooley is appointed Commander of the Air Force Research Laboratory at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Ohio, by order of General Ellen Pawlikowski.
Ma'am, I relinquish command. That's the way we do it.
Lead him well, Bill.
Congratulations, General Cooley, on your new command. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. And General Thompson, will you please join the center stage for the Air Force Life Cycle Management Center change of command. The Life Cycle Management Center provides timely and cost-effective delivery of warfighting capabilities for our Air Force and our partner nations. 26,000 men and women of the center, operating at 77 worldwide locations, provide the warfighter's edge by acquiring and supporting nearly all aircraft, engines, munitions, electronics, and cyber weapon systems. Driven by innovation and a deep commitment to excellence, the Air Force Life Cycle Management Center undergirds our nation's strategic objectives by delivering dominant warfighter products. These products are critical for our national security and fundamental to the success of our Air Force mission to fly, fight, and win in air, space, and cyberspace. Lieutenant General Thompson will now relinquish command of the Air Force Life Cycle Management System. Please stand for the publishing of the order.
Publish the order.
Attention to orders. Under the provisions of Air Force Instruction 51-604, Special Order Number GS-1705, effective 2 May 2017, Lieutenant General Robert D. McMurray is appointed Commander of the Air Force Life Cycle Management Center at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Ohio, by order of General Ellen M. Palakowski.
Thanks, JT. Lead him well, Robert.
Ma'am, I assume command.
Congratulations, General McMurray, on your new command. Thank you, General Palakowski and General Thompson. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, the Commander, Air Force Life Cycle Management Center, Lieutenant General Robert D. McMurray.
Well, JT said we had 4 speeches, and I kind of viewed it as 5. I get to do 2. You don't get to do this very often. So I got to say goodbye to AFRL and say hello to LCMC. Before I do that, General Hudson, thank you again just for this fantastic venue. To the Band of Flight, the music is terrific. To the protocol and support teams that make all of these things possible, much appreciated. To our community leaders, national, state, and local community, just thank you for being a part of our larger Wright-Patterson family. I came here just under a year ago, took command of the Air Force Research Lab. It was my first assignment to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And it became eminently clear there is a word that describes this environment here, and that is welcoming. And I appreciate all that you have done to make me feel part of this family. For the folks at AFRL, General Palakowski hit all my high points, so I'm done. But the reality is that, you know, what I'd really like to do is tell you, you know how I feel. I've said it over and over and over again. It has just been an honor to command you for just 10 days short of a year. The success stories keep on coming. I may repeat a couple that you said. We talked about new steel. We talked about responsive things to the folks downrange. We're going to fly this summer a 6-day aircraft for an ISR platform. We've done rocket tests that are moving us to oxygen-rich stage combustion at Edwards. We have the new steel that we've talked about. That thing per weapon is a $300,000 bomb savings in terms of what Dr. Abrams did there. We have, whether you're trapping ions or developing the next cyber tools at Rome, or building better special forces gear to improve our rescue and special forces kit and capabilities. Whether we're doing medical training, a lot of you may not know, we operate a medical school. We operate 3 trauma centers at places where we train people for cases they would likely never see in the Air Force. But at Baltimore and St. Louis and Cincinnati, our people who are heading down range get an experience that is unparalleled by people who, I mean, most of us have a pretty strong ego, and we are pretty comfortable with our ability to hold our own, but it doesn't take you very long to know you're not the smartest guy in the room. They are some extraordinarily talented and dedicated people, and it is a touch of the way the lab works. Whether we're working flexible electronics, whether we're working low observable coatings, whether we're working university research and opening contacts to international organizations that have never worked with the U.S. Air Force. Every day, the talented 6,000 plus members of the Air Force Research Laboratory are bringing cutting-edge technology forward, as my colleague Doug Eversole said, to keep the fight unfair. I thank you for what you do, and I will tell you, while Dee and I will miss you, you are going to be in good hands. Bill Cooley and Janet, this is coming, we've thrown them back in the briar patch. This is their, Bill has said to me, this is one of those jobs he's always wanted to have, and I'm telling you, he is going to do, he's going to run circles around everything I was able to do. So Bill trying not to make me look too bad. But congratulations to you and Janet. I wish you all the best. As we move on to the Lifecycle Management Center, first, a tribute to the Thompsons. Your years of service at so many different places and so many moves, and with a family that have just bled true blue. I mean, thank you for what you have done. Thank you for the command climate you have set, and thank you for the standards that you have brought the performance to. For the people of the Lifecycle Management Center, I consider it an honor to serve this team. We keep hearing the numbers, 26,000, 9 major locations, 67 or 77 maybe this morning, different locations where we have people, but you're the people who turn those ideas, those technologies and those capabilities from ideas, dreams, demonstrations, requirements, and specifications into something real that actually works, that can actually be maintained, and that will work every time when it needs to. That is not easy. I just got to say it again. That is a hard thing to do. It takes dedicated, educated, devoted professionals like yourselves to do that, to come work every day. Sometimes to overcome our bureaucracy, sometimes to motivate our technology solutions, sometimes to bring a little money, but it's hard work. But it's noble and righteous work that brings great kit, and great gear, and great systems to allow our country some peace through strength. So whether you're buying, upgrading, repairing, modifying, recoding, coding, storing, activating, or mothballing a system, your job matters. It makes a difference. It's huge. It's hugely important to our country, and I appreciate what you do every day. What we need to do is do it better every day. Just a little bit better than yesterday. That's the way the gains get made. If you're not thinking that way, think again. Think harder. We can do this. So General Polakowski, it seems like I do this every now and then. Thank you again. Thank you for your trust. Thank you for your leadership. And thank you for this opportunity. I'm looking forward to serving all of you on what is, I believe, the only team that I really want to serve on. It is a fantastic Air Force team, so thank you very much. And I appreciate your patience on my 2-for-1 speech. Everybody have a great day.
Thank you, General McMurray. General Cooley, as the new commander of the Air Force Research Laboratory, would you please come forward for remarks?
Can you hear me? Okay. Let me start off by saying thanks. First and foremost to General Polakowski for your trust and confidence for this job. We've talked about this before. As you said, this is kind of my career has been largely touched by the labs, and but I very much appreciate the confidence that you have in putting me in this position. General McMurray, thank you very much for your stewardship of the lab and leadership, and I look forward to working with you in our new roles in the Lifecycle Management Center. General Thompson, good luck. Some of us have had time out in us. There are some challenges, but I'm confident that you bring the skills and leadership to help that community and continue to deliver great systems out there. So thank you very much for your leadership and being part of this. Let me thank the men and women of both communities, the Lifecycle Management Center and AFRL, and I'm very much looking forward to getting to know you better. As others have said beforehand, the community leadership that is here, the industry partners, we can't accomplish what we need to accomplish without everything that you bring. So thank you for your support and your presence here today. Finally, I'd like to thank those people who have been closest to me through my life. I see Larry Merkel and his wife Margaret are here, who we were friends since high school, and of course my brother Tom Cooley is here. But most of all, I want to thank Janet, who I would not be standing here today if it wasn't for her encouraging me and helping me along. So thank you, Janet. History was a theme through some of the previous speakers. The museum here, General Hudson, this is a fantastic venue to have this ceremony in. And the reference to McCook Field in 100 years ago. 100 years ago this fall was the beginnings of what is now the Air Force Research Laboratory, as well as the other organizations. And so it's important that we look back on the history that got us here, and in particular the leadership and the principles that helped get us here. And one of the quotes that I am particularly fond of was from General Hap Arnold, where he said, the first essential in air power is preeminence in research. And that's kind of posted in a number of places throughout the headquarters, but it's also on my coin. It's because that has sort of characterized my career and who I am. It really is important. The research that we do is vital to moving forward. And so as we look to the current state of affairs and are moving forward and responding to Air Force leadership, the challenge has probably never been greater. The gap in technological advantage has shrunk, and so it's essential that the Air Force Research Lab hear that call and respond. There's a huge number of investments, huge number of successes, but the challenges are in front of us. And the expectations going forward from both the MAGCOMs as well as our senior leadership in the Air Force, the Chief and the Secretary, and the DoD leadership, our national security is dependent on the technological edge to keep, as General McMurray said, the fight unfair. And so that is what we have in front of us. I'm confident we can meet that mission because I know the greatest asset of the Air Force Research Lab is its people. We have phenomenal scientists, engineers, doctors, as General McMurray mentioned in the wing, phenomenal staff that support all of that, the contracting professionals across the lab to meet the mission that we have. So, and why do I know that? Well, as General Polakowski hinted, I have some firsthand experience with the lab. So I know the professionals that are across the lab, and I also know, importantly, by reputation. The reputation of the lab is outstanding. And my intent is to keep that moving forward, and as General McMurray said, continue to get better every day. We have to meet that mission. So let me just say a couple of things about to the workforce of what to expect from me, from the AFRL workforce. First of all, I'm going to listen. Because the workforce is extremely smart. I would argue the brightest in the Air Force. Not only do we understand the technology, but we understand the Air Force. And so I'm going to listen and rely on you to help lead this organization and lead the Air Force in the right direction. The second thing I promise you is transparency. Because you're smart, because you're capable, just telling you to do something isn't enough. It's important that we understand why and the rational thinking behind decision making. And so I'm going to be as transparent as possible. The last thing you can expect from me is a sense of urgency. It's vital that we respond to the Air Force leadership, and time is money. And technology is a key advantage, and so it's critical that we have that sense of urgency as we move forward. Let me end with just a personal reflection, if you will, and a personal meaning. As General Polakowski accurately articulated, I've kind of been building to this, I think, my entire career. When I showed up as a second lieutenant over in Building 18, over here in the Propulsion and Power Laboratory at that time, part of Wright Lab. That was the first job. I then went to the Solid State Directorate up the hill, which is now the Sensors Directorate, doing crystal growth, molecular beam epitaxy for those who are counting and in the know. I think it's now part of the Materials Lab, before I went to graduate school. So I touched those two directorates. After graduate school, I went to do lasers at the Directed Energy Directorate in Kirtland, and then circled back as a colonel to lead the Space Vehicles Directorate. So I've worked in 4 of the 9 directorates in the lab. So I hope to understand the lab a little bit, and my hope is to bring that insight to advance what we have. Why do I go and tell you this? Because I bring a passion to this. This has this has sort of characterized my career. I love the lab, I love the mission, and I love the people. And I am going to work 110% to make it successful and take it to the next level, which, oh, by the way, our Air Force demands. So thank you very much for your attendance. To the lab employees, we have a tremendous responsibility ahead of us to respond to what the Air Force needs to ensure we have a technological advantage going forward. So thank you very much, and I look forward to serving with you.
Thank you, General Cooley. General Polakowski, General McMurray, and General Cooley, the men and women of the Air Force Research Laboratory and the Air Force Life Cycle Management Center are proud and honored to serve under your command. We look forward to working together, continuing our tradition of excellence set by each of these superior organizations. And to General Thompson, we wish you great success in your new position at the Space and Missile Systems Center.